Good evening, parents, and welcome to tonight's town hall meeting. I'm Valerie Abrahamian with Advocates for Angels, and I'm the IEP navigator, and I help parents get the special education program their child needs to thrive, both in school and in life after high school. So tonight's town hall meeting, I'm going to be discussing lots of topics that I've been discussing over the past 2 weeks regarding schools opening. Okay, so parents, you need to know these things. Schools starting in Southern California here where I am, many schools have already started. And I know across the nation, schools are either have already opened or they are going to open very soon. So before we get started, I want to make a quick announcement. I'm going to be hosting a advocacy round table webinar, and that is going to be with advocates from across the nation in many different states, as well as California, to get together in a roundtable discussion to discuss the current state of special education today. Because as I've been saying all through summer, special education is in jeopardy right now. Many school districts across the nation are dismantling our child's IEP. They are not implementing the IEP according to federal and state law. And if parents don't step up to the plate and learn how to advocate to protect the rights of themselves, our parent rights, as well as our child's rights, your child is not going to receive their IEP, their services, their academic instruction, and school districts are going to continue to violate federal and state law. School districts across the nation are giving misinformation, disinformation, and not following the guidelines set by Congress, by Secretary DeVos, in the requirements for virtual schooling and remote schooling. So that's what I'm going to be covering today. So I'm actually going to pull up, I made some notes, and I want to you parents to actually see what I'm going to be talking about tonight, because I thought it would be easier for you to actually see what I am talking about, but now I don't know if this is going to share properly. Oh, I guess it's not going to. Wait, maybe it will now. Let me just try something else here, parents. Bear with me for a sec here. Might do it now. Because sometimes I'm a visual learner. So when I see things, I learn it much better. There, I think it's sharing now. So the first thing I'm going to talk about, parents, is your device. So parents, you should have already received your device for your child. Every child should have received a device. Every child, whether it's a child on an IEP or a child in special, in general education. If you have not received your device for your child, please, parents, get with your local school district and get your device. Your child cannot receive an education virtually or remotely without a device. Now, yes, they can use your device, but that's not the way it's supposed to go down. They're supposed to have their own device. That is the guidelines set forth by Congress. Now, I know in many school districts in Southern California, they've actually run out of devices. Many school districts are out of devices and they're on back order right now. Guess what, guys? Violation. It's insane. How is your child supposed to receive education without a device? It was a clear guideline by Secretary DeVos that every child should receive a device before the first day of school begins in order for your child to receive an education. You can't have one device and have 2 or 3 kids sharing a device when you have different teachers giving instruction at the same time. It makes no sense, and it's a failure to make sure that your child has access to education. So make sure you get your device. If your school district is on back order and you haven't received they haven't received their device, every day that goes by and they're not online, they're not receiving their services, they're not receiving their academic instruction, then they owe you that time back. Don't let them get away with giving you an excuse that they were on back order. That's not your problem, parents. That's their failure to cover their bases and make sure that every child received a device before the first day of school. So, and parents, you can't just sit back and wait for your device. So, you know, you have to take the driver's seat. You have to be the initiator in this whole situation. It's now the obligation of parents to learn how to protect your rights. If you want your child's IEP implemented, if you don't take the driver's seat and learn what your parent rights are, what the guidelines from Congress say, how to hold them accountable to getting your supports and services and academic instruction, your child's not going to receive it. Because I've heard some crazy, crazy stuff going on across the nation of school districts saying things like, we can't provide services because of this or that. We can't do telehealth, or we can't do this or that, or just all kinds of excuses. There is no excuse, parents. There's no excuse. There's no excuse to violating federal or state law, okay? So just know that. So let's go through some of these things individually so you can be a little bit more clear on that. So what are the legal requirements for academic live instruction and your child's service provision for remote or virtual learning? So what that is your teacher must get online every single day and teach your child live academic instruction. So it's 4 hours a day for grades 4 through 12. It's 2 hours and 50 minutes a day for grades 1 through 3, and it is 3 hours for kindergarten. That is live academic instruction by your teacher every day, okay? So parents, if you're not receiving that, and again, here's some of the excuses that I've seen from school districts saying, well, okay, let's take, for example, a 1 through 3rd grader that's supposed to get 2 hours and 50 minutes a day. So they're saying, well, the teacher's going to get online and teach 2 30-minute classrooms. And then they're going to have an hour of office hours where kids or parents can ask questions, and the teacher will be available online for an hour. And then the rest of those minutes are going to be independent study for the students. That's not 2 hours and 50 minutes of live academic instruction, parents. That's again a violation. So now if your teacher is online and say they teach a 30-minute academic instruction lesson to their class, and then they say, okay, kids, now I want you to do an activity, or I want you to write a paragraph, or I want you to do the lesson that I emailed to you or that was on Google Docs or whatever, after she did the live academic instruction, and she's still online and she's still there answering questions, working with the kids, or she splits the kids up into small groups because they can do those breakout sessions, and then they might be in small groups with aides helping each small group, and then they're working on their lesson that's taking place right after the teacher gave the 30-minute live academic instruction. That's fine, because that's what a teacher would do in the classroom. That's perfectly fine. But what's not fine is that they decrease the minutes and then say an hour is office hours. That's not live academic instruction. And independent study, when the teacher's not there online with the students, that's not live academic instruction. Okay, so that's how you're going to break it down. If they are not doing that, and if they send out a PWN or put it on the district website, or tell you in your IEP meeting that that's how they're going to do it, that's a violation of federal law. Okay, so let's move down to services. All services listed in the IEP must be provided. There are no excuses for your services not to be provided. They can be provided through telehealth, which is a manner in which a delivery model that's been used for years, way before the pandemic. School districts were allowed to provide telehealth to kids, lots of kids, like kids who are homebound and can't go out to get their instruction, or have home and hospital, or in the home, or sick, or have, whatever, and can't go to school, they get telehealth. So this has always been an option for kiddos on an IEP. So they can provide telehealth, and also if your school district says, well, we can't do that, or our OT can't do that, or whatever excuse they come up with, if they do that, then you're going to want to say, well, then I'm going to seek a private agency to provide my child with the services listed in the IEP. And district, you are going to pay for it for me because you are failing to provide me with the services listed in my IEP. You must inform them that you plan to seek a private provider to provide your services, and they're going to say no. They're probably going to say no, we're not going to do that. And even if they say no, you make sure you put it in writing that this is what you're planning to do, or you say it at an IEP meeting and they document it in your IEP. And as long as it's documented in writing and you've informed them that you are going to seek a private provider, you can go ahead and go and fund it yourself, and then say you want them to reimburse you on what the cost was for that, because they failed to provide your child's IEP services. And then they must reimburse you because they failed to provide. And if they say no in another PWN or in a PWN, then you are going to file a compliance complaint on your school district, because you would and should get reimbursed by the school district. So this is how you hold them accountable. You show them you're not going to take their excuses. You are going to implement your parent rights and protect your child's rights, and you're going to stand up to them manipulating you, giving you excuses, and trying to coerce you into diminish or deny your child their services. Okay, so that's services. Now, PLOP, the present levels of academic performance, PLOAP, PLOP. So those are listed in your IEP. In every annual IEP, the first few pages, you're going to see present levels of academic performance. And it's going to be in every area. It's going to be in writing, in reading, in math, in reading comprehension, in all areas of academics. You're going to have behavior, and just all the different areas of how your child learns. And there's a present level of where is your child right then at that time of that IEP, what are their present levels? And those present levels of performance is what the baseline to where they say, okay, your child's here right now. So in one school year, we expect your child to be here and make this much progress, 1 year of progress. That's how they write goals, okay? So when you come back into the school for this year, you're going to want to request that your child academic performance present levels are legally determined by a standardized test scores, okay? It's not going to be by your teacher's subjective opinion, or even by, well, we're just going to give this little test and see where your child is. Those can be very subjective. Many times it doesn't show accurate present levels. You want it to be a standardized test, and a couple examples of those would be the GORT, or the Woodcock-Johnson. Those are two present levels of performance academic achievement tests that they can give your child to determine legally and factually where your child's current present levels of performance is, so you can determine how you're going to move forward with your child, and you can determine how much regression had occurred since last March when they closed down the schools. So you'll know this is how much they've regressed right now to that very day of that IEP meeting. They've regressed that much. And therefore, you can also ask for compensatory services to make up for the regression that incurred on your child, because the district did not serve our kids since school closed in March. And I will go deeper into compensatory ed in a second. So now let's talk about assessments. So assessment timelines have not been waived, parents. Nothing in the IEP or an IDEA has been waived, even though schools are closed, even though we're in a remote learning model. Okay, so so you are going to, if you have an assessment already in play, say it was already requested previously, or you want to request an assessment now, it doesn't matter. They must assess your child. They can't say, we're not doing assessments now because schools are closed. I'm experiencing that now in my local school district. They're just across the board saying, we're not doing assessments now because schools are closed. Same thing they said last school year. They sent out PWN saying they're not doing assessments because schools are closed. Violation of state and federal law. Assessments were not waived. Yes, it's going to be much more difficult to do assessments virtually, absolutely, but they have to figure out a way. They have to find a test in which the author says it would be valid to have that assessment conducted virtually. And if that assessment isn't valid to have done virtually, you're going to seek another, then have them say, well, then go find another assessment that would be accurate and ethical to conduct virtually. Now, if they still say no, because I have the situation right now, they're still saying, nope, we're not assessing until schools reopen. You can't just indefinitely say, we're not going to assess. We don't know when we're coming back to school. Is it going to be December? Maybe not even then. We might go the whole school year without going back to school. They cannot hold or waive assessments a whole school year. In fact, they can't hold or waive an assessment or be late on the timeline because timelines were not waived. Okay, there's a little bit of wiggle room where they can have a little bit extra past the, in California, it's 60 days. In other states, it might be another time frame. So check your state's time frame for what your assessment timeline is. But they can have a little bit of lateness there. That's not indefinitely. That's not till schools reopen. That's not a month, 2 months, 3 months. It's a little bit of past the timeline. Okay. Now, if they do say no, and we're not doing it, then you have a right to say, parents, well, then I want you a private agency, because all the private agencies are assessing, every single one of them. So just say, okay, well, if you school districts are refusing to assess my child, then I'm asking for you to fund an IEE, an independent educational evaluation, at the school district's funding and on their dime. Okay, so that's how you hold them accountable. If they're not going to be willing to assess, then they have to fund a private agency for an independent educational evaluation for your child. Don't let them get away with not assessing your child. Federal and state violation once again. Okay, so now IEP meetings. They must hold your IEP meeting. If you have an annual coming up, they're still held accountable to the annual timeline, which is a date that's on your IEP that says every year the IEP happens on or before that date. It's right there listed on the top of your IEP document, and they must adhere to IEP timelines. If you had a IEP already scheduled or calendar before school closure, and in March, April, and May they said we're not doing IEPs right now, well, then they owe you an IEP, and they better get it done like within the first 2 weeks of school, because they should have done it back then and they didn't do it. They violated the IEP timelines back then too, because back then nothing was waived either. So districts violated right and left, March, April, May, and June. They washed their hands of all the requirements during that time, and you can hold them accountable for doing that. So make sure you get your IEP within the timeline, and make sure that they don't delay your IEP if they owe you one for last year. And I've been telling parents all through summer, ask for your IEP, get your IEP scheduled now, make sure that they get you on the list to hold an IEP meeting. In California, it's 30 days. So the first day of the clock starts ticking of that 30 days, the first day of school, the clock starts ticking. They must provide you with an IEP before 30 days, okay? Now, if you were owed an IEP from March, April, May, or June, then they better get you your IEP within the first 2 weeks of school. They don't get the 30 days, okay? Because it's not a new request for an IEP. It's one that's owed from March, April, May, and June because they failed to provide it then. They violated the timeline. So they have to take every action and every effort to make sure that they make that up to you early as soon as school starts. They can't put you at the back of the list behind all the other parents that ask for an IEP at the beginning of the school year if you need to make up one from previous when schools closed last spring. Okay, so now IEP meetings, and then if the district denies any of your requests in an IEP meeting, parents, so say any of these things that I just reviewed to you, if they deny any of those requests in the IEP meeting, make sure you ask for the statute or the guidance or the whatever legal authority that they are basing their denial on. Okay, because they won't be able to show you. They won't be able to show you that during virtual schooling, we don't have to do assessments. They won't be able to show you that because it's not written anywhere, because it's not waived. Okay, so, and make sure that they provide it to you in writing. Say, I'm requesting, since you're denying me an assessment or whatever it is that they're denying, district, that you provide me with the statute or the guidance or whatever legal requirement you are referring to and you're basing your denial on. And you make sure it's in writing, that you're asking for that, and that you are asking for them to provide that document to you. Make sure you do that, because that's going to hold them accountable. And many times when parents do that, all of a sudden they turn around and change their mind and they say, oh, I think we can take care of that, because they won't be able to come up to the guidance or the legal requirement in writing because there isn't any. Also, if you make a request in an IEP meeting that they cannot give you an answer right there in the IEP meeting, they must provide you with a PWN, a prior written notice, responding to your request after the meeting. So this is how you hold them accountable to not delaying whatever you requested. So when you have an IEP meeting and you make a request in it and you provide your parent agenda prior to the meeting with your requests documented and already written down, they have to answer your request at the IEP meeting. Either yes, we're going to grant you that request, Mom, or no, we are denying that request, and document it in the IEP. If they cannot give you a yes or no answer at the IEP, they must respond in a prior written notice 15 days after your IEP meeting. Now, there isn't really any strong, clear, cut and dry 15-day timeline, but what the law says is within a reasonable time frame. And so that's usually a 2-week period. It could go to 30 days, but nothing past 30 days. You should be receiving a prior written notice responding with your either denial or your approval of whatever you requested in your IEP meeting, and let them know, well, I'm expecting a PWN then within 15 days. And you can just say that in your IEP meeting, and even request that they write it down in the IEP notes to hold them accountable to that. So now let's talk about compensatory education. Okay, so if a school district doesn't fully implement your child's IEP and didn't do it back in March or June, or isn't doing it right now, then your child is entitled to compensatory education or compensatory services. Compensatory education are services provided to compensate a student for educational opportunities that were lost when the public school failed to provide your child with an appropriate education as defined by law. So parents, when your school district does not implement your IEP, they owe you those services. They must get back together as an IEP team, look at what services were denied or failed to be implemented, and they must discuss how they are going to make that up to your child. That is the law. So if they refuse to do that, Again, because many school districts are refusing compensatory education. I'm having them do it all the time in my local school district after we made that request. And for every time that they send us a PWN saying, no, sorry, we're not going to give you comp ed for March, April, May, and June because we don't have to because schools were closed. No, IDEA wasn't waived. Secretary DeVos never said, oh, all school districts across the nation, you don't have to provide services. You don't have to provide education. IDEA is waived. She never said that. In fact, she said just the opposite. She said that teachers, educators, school districts, and parents must work together collaboratively and creatively to ensure that every child continues to be served and receives their education. Yet many school districts across the nation did not do that. So you have the right to ask for compensatory ed. If they say no in a PWN, they're not going to give it to you, then you're going to write a compliance complaint. And you're going to tell your state board of education that my district's failing to provide me comp ed for the services they did not provide. Okay, so the special education, a special ed compliance complaint, just fix this over here because I can't see. Okay, a special education federal law, it protects your child's right to special education. And it has not been waived. Because of this, school districts cannot legally remove or suspend any of your child's rights under IDEA without specific authorization from Congress, which they have not gotten, parents. Your child must continue to receive all their supports and services listed in the IEP, even though schools have been closed, and even though we're still going into a virtual remote model in California, as well as many other school districts across the nation. Special education is a broken system, parents, and it always has been since 1975 when President Ford signed it into law. They knew right then, and they even discussed it at the signing. They said, it's a great law. It's great that we are now going to be serving kids with disabilities and special education and giving rights to children and parents, but it's never going to work because it's never going to be fully funded. And still till to this day, it is still not fully funded. And now in the situation with virtual remote learning and the pandemic, our kids' IEPs are being dismantled, slowly but surely being dismantled and violating federal law. And it's the broken system serves the system. It serves your school district, but it does not serve our child. So it works really great for your local school district. It works good for them. But for us, it doesn't work well at all because it doesn't serve our kids. They don't teach parents what your rights are. They don't help you with how to advocate for your child. They don't tell you what you can ask for, what services are available, what your rights are, how to disagree when they tell you something, how you can move forward with resolving disputes. They give you misinformation and even disinformation. They coerce parents, intimidate parents, and make it very, very difficult for parents to actually be fully informed about your parent rights and how to navigate the hard federal and state laws that oversee special education. And the worst thing about it is that it's not enforced. So they're not held accountable when they violate federal law or state law. They're not held accountable. Nobody's holding them accountable for March, April, May, and June when they didn't educate our kids. And moving forward, they're still violating right and left. And they're not going to be held accountable, parents, unless you learn how to advocate and how to hold them accountable. It's up to parents to learn your parent rights and learn how to hold them accountable, which is what I do, which is what I teach parents. I have many services and monthly membership that I provide to parents where I teach you how to advocate for your child, what your parent rights are, how to hold them accountable, how to write compliance complaints, how to write your parent agenda, how to write parent letters, and all of these things that I'm talking about tonight I teach you how to do that, because I know I can give you this overview and tell you what your rights are, but actually moving forward and doing it alone without someone coaching you and guiding you, it's very difficult if you don't know really what the law says or how to do it. So that's why I created my monthly parent membership, which is called the Parent Brigade. And it's a very low monthly fee where you can join and you can work with me in implementing all of these things that I just talked about. And I help you with giving you the fill in the blank letters and emails and how to write a compliance complaint and everything that we are talking about to support you. Because parents, if you don't do it, they're going to not implement your child's IEP. And you're probably not going to get all your services, and you're probably not going to get all those instructional minutes that we talked about up here, which is, again, for students in grade 4 through 12, it's 4 hours a day. For students 1 through 3, it is 2 hours and 50 minutes a day. And for kindergarten students, it is 3 hours a day of virtual academic and live instruction with your teacher. And I don't know of many I know of one school district that's actually doing those that amount of minutes, and that's about it. All the other school districts I know of here in Southern California are not adhering to that guideline set by Congress, obligating teachers to teach virtual minutes, live minutes. So so that's my overview and lesson for tonight, parents. And now I'll open it up to any questions that any of you might have that I can answer for you. Because I know I gave you a lot, so you probably have some questions about that. Anybody have a question? Is anybody finding this, what I'm talking about, and this happening in your, have you heard how many instructional minutes your school district is providing?
Yeah, hi Valerie. It's Abby in New York. Yeah,
Hi.
we gave us an overview. I think it was last night. It was very sketchy though, as far as the high school. I was only really listening for the high school to see, because that's what I was concerned with. But they're telling them that if they're going to stay home, they're splitting the remote learning with the in-class learning. You know, about 2 days, 2 to 3 days a week for each group.
You have a hybrid program.
Right.
Yes.
But if you choose to stay home, which is what we're doing, they're saying that they have to log on each period, take attendance. They were not clear whether they were going to do actual teaching or if it was just going to be like a slide presentation or an assignment. It was very sketchy. So okay. I wanted to ask you though, you know, you say that to hold them accountable. I mean, how do you really hold their feet to the fire when they're stalling or just not providing what they're not providing?
So, like I said, when you have, first of all, when you have your IEP meeting, you write your parent agenda. And on your parent agenda, you write down everything that you expect them to provide and what your requests are very clearly. Right. The second you provide them with a parent agenda, that becomes a legal piece of evidence in writing. Okay. So then you go to your IEP meeting and you make sure they go down that parent agenda and have a discussion with the IEP team about each one of those requests. Okay. Then at the end of that discussion, they have to write in the IEP notes, we're going to do that, or no, we're not going to do that. That's how you hold them accountable. And then if they say no, then you have the right to file a compliance complaint on them for not implementing whatever it is. If they're violating state or federal law, that's a compliance complaint because they're violating and they're not willing to resolve it with you.
Okay. And that goes to who? That complaint?
It goes to your state board of education.
State board, okay.
Yeah, the state board of education, a compliance complaint, because every state has a state board of ed that oversees all the school districts in their state. Okay. And so you're taking it over the district's head to the state Board of Education and telling them, my school district is violating state and federal law because they're not willing to blah, 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 blah. They're violating whatever it is.
Okay, okay, okay.
And that's how you hold them accountable. But
Okay,
you have to make sure that you present it at an IEP meeting, you give them the opportunity to resolve it. And if they don't resolve it, you can actually tell them, well, I'm going to be filing a compliance complaint because that's a violation of state and federal law and of my parent rights, and then see
Okay.
what they have to say.
okay.
But you have to make sure that they've written it in an IEP saying, no, we are not going to provide that, or in a prior written notice letter that you would receive afterwards saying, no, we're not going to provide that.
Because, you know my story more or less, but I feel like I'm getting, stalled.
Yes, you are.
Supposedly they sent out packets, and today I had a conversation with them, and he said, yeah, we sent out the packets. I don't know why you haven't heard. And I'm following up. And I had asked him to get copies of the letters they sent out. And he keeps telling me, yeah, I'll get them to you. And I don't get them. So I don't know if these things were sent out or not.
So if I were you, I would call an IEP meeting,
Okay.
because an IEP meeting is a legally binding document.
Okay.
So that's why just words and conversations is not legally binding.
Even if
So
it's written, even if
what-
I write an
Pardon?
email? If I send an email detailing like what was said, what happened, what we talked about.
You could start there. But what was actually documented in your last IEP? What was the expectation after that last IEP you had?
They were supposed to send that. I don't remember if I even got another IEP after that. I don't think so.
But I mean, you had this discussion in an IEP that you
Right.
want the private school.
Right.
You had that discussion.
Right. And they said
had to
they
have
were
written
going to
down
send out. Yeah, I don't.
So you should go back, Abby, go back to your last IEP and
Right.
read all the notes and read what they wrote down about that discussion. What was agreed
I
upon.
don't think it was put in there, to be honest with you. I
Okay,
don't think
well,
I
then
got
that's-
another one.
That's right there. That shows you they're not working with you in an ethical manner if they didn't even write down that discussion and your request for a private school.
Oh, boy.
So
Okay.
they're screwing you over right there, big time. If
Okay.
they didn't write that down, then they have no obligation to do any of this for you. Because if it's not in the IEP.
Okay. I have to look. I may be saying something that's not true, but I'm going to take a look and I'll
Yeah,
see.
you have to, if something isn't documented in writing in an IEP, then they don't have to do it.
Okay.
So you can't take their promises or a conversation agreement. That means nothing. It
Okay.
means absolutely nothing.
All right.
So
All
if
right.
that's the case, you need to immediately call an IEP meeting and you need to write a parent agenda you're in the
Right.
brigade. I'll help you write your parent agenda.
Okay.
And very, very clearly, and then go to your IEP meeting, and that's how you hold their feet to the fire.
Okay.
Right.
All right. I'm
That's
going
how
to
you do it.
look at my papers now.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Thanks.
Read the entire IEP and see what it says,
All right. Thanks.
and let me know.
I will.
Okay, Abby.
Hello.
Hi, Kate.
I have a question. I think I know the answer to this, but I'd like you to confirm it for me. When it comes to targeting a student's IEP goal,
Kate,
Should
we
be
can't
teacher.
hear you. We can't hear you. It's super bad.
okay.
Can you go outside or something or get a better connection?
Oh my, I was wondering if that was me.
Yeah.
How about now? It's still bad?
Yeah, it's like breaking up. It's all crackly when you talk.
Okay, I'll wait. I'll find myself a better area.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you on your cell?
I am.
Can you call on your landline? Oh, are you on a computer or on your phone?
I'm on my phone. How about now? No,
It's
still
just,
bad.
yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't this
I'll
bad
find the-
last time. What, can you get on your computer and log in?
that.
It works good on the computer. Try that,
Okay.
and then we'll come back to you.
Okay.
Hi, it's me again. I just found the paper.
Okay.
It's Abby.
Hi, Abby.
So yes, they did write in here saying that they agreed to explore, now I lost it, outside placement. So it is in there.
But what else? That doesn't mean anything. Agree to explore outside placement does not obligate them to anything.
What should it say?
It should say, within so many days, we are going to contact these placements, and then we're going to move forward by this time, a plan.
Oh, okay. Well, that,
Is that all it said? Just that one sentence?
the description of action proposed or refused, that they reviewed his neuropsych eval and recommended that he continue to receive special education, and then they agreed to explore an outside placement. They approved him for summary SY, and said how much.
Nothing
Explanation
else
of-
about the outside placement.
Right. Explanation of why the action is proposed. It says parent felt the student may require the support of a specialized program, and the CSE was willing to explore this as a possibility.
So that doesn't hold them accountable to anything, to any timeline, other than exploring it. They could be exploring it for the next year.
Forever. Yeah. Okay.
So that's the problem.
Okay. So what do I do? Tell them I want another meeting?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Because you've already asked him several times, and I know you've written
Right.
him a couple emails already, right?
Many, yes.
Yeah. So you need to call a meeting, because a IEP is a legally binding document, and then you got to do it right at the meeting.
Okay. Okay.
And
All right.
I'll coach you through that,
Okay. All right. Thanks.
because they're just going to keep delaying you. It's obvious that that's what he's doing.
Yeah. And it's obvious. It is obvious.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thanks.
You're welcome. Who else has a question? Is everybody scheduled an IEP meeting and prepared for your IEP meeting and writing your parent agenda, requesting your present levels of performance testing? Does everybody has their device? Have all of you asked for compensatory services for last March, April, May, and June? Does anybody have assessments coming up that you need? Those are all the things that should be looked at. You need to talk about how is your child's virtual schooling services going to take place. You need to ask for a visual schedule for when your services are. When is what's the schedule for academic instruction?
I just have a comment to tell you, Valerie. It's Angelina.
Okay. Hi, Angelina.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. JJ
Good.
had a little meeting via Zoom today with his new teacher, because she wanted to do like a virtual home tour and see, like, I guess where he'll be learning at. But anyway, so I guess she asked him a few questions about school, and I found it quite interesting. How do you feel? And then she asked, well, what did you like about last year? And he said, nothing, I hated it. And I just found that interesting, because the whole time the teacher tried to make him seem he is like Mr. Go Lucky. I'm so happy to be at school. So, in my mind, when he was saying all this, I was like, yes, because I think a part of me, they think that we're lying and we're just making stuff up, and we're not.
Uh-huh.
So she went over his visual schedule. It's a lot of,
Good.
there's going to be separated in 3 groups.
Uh-huh.
And it's a lot of virtual teaching. To me, I feel like it's going to be a complete mess to try to get him online, and they're going from 8:20 to 2:30, and I don't know how they expect a
Really?
parent who can do, Yes, she showed me the schedule. Yep.
Wow.
And it's logging in like when your group is not logged on, you're doing more classwork with your parent, and there's going to be other choices for them. But Julian's work, we can get 6 hours of work done in 2 hours. There's no way he's going to make it from 8:20 to 2:30 at home, and I don't even have time to do that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So this is there's a lot of little, different problems when they are providing an equitable plan, then we come up with the problems. So now this is a good, example, is that he will never be able to do that unless you sit next to him the entire day, every day. Now, how is a parent supposed to do that?
Exactly. I have no idea.
Right.
I can do it. I can do it because I'm home, and then when I'm not working, my husband's home. But I'm not gonna do that because he can get 6 hours of work done in 2 hours, and he's much more productive that way. It'll be. I want to put him through this the first couple of weeks just to show them the behaviors.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah.
But it's gonna have.
Them. Yes.
Yeah, it's gonna have to change though. They're gonna have to do something different for him. I already know it.
Yeah, so that's good. And that's exactly what you should do. So you need to, the first couple weeks, and you need to video it so you have evidence, so that they can't say, well, your son's not online all day long. Well, let me show you why, and show the videos.
Right.
And and then it becomes their problem of how are they going to address his behaviors in the home to access the education online. It's not your problem. Yeah. It's their problem. And how is a parent, because you don't, you do have a job, you can say when I'm not working, I can be there, but when I'm working, I can't. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm not the only parent that can't do that.
Right. So, but what I do want to say to parents is, whatever you do not turn down or decline anything, because they will use it against you. If you say, well, I'm not going to take those OT services because they're a waste of time and they don't do anything, they will use it against you. And then when you go back and ask for comp ed or say they're not doing something, they're going to go, well, you declined OT and we offered that to you. So don't decline anything. Don't say, no, I'm not going to take that. Make sure you agree to everything that they offer you, and then just show them, if there's a problem with your kid accessing it or behaving properly or getting benefit out of it, then that becomes their problem, not yours. Okay. So then you make sure you document it when we taking notes on this day, my child melted down for a half hour. And, and video some of it if you can. Take good, copious notes and logs on all this virtual stuff if you're having problems, so that you have the paper trail to fall back on, and then you put it back in their lap of, well, I need behavior intervention assistance and support for my kid because of this, and this.
Yeah, and I learned today too that his STEAM rotation that used to only be on Mondays will now be every single day. So that special education teacher is going to have to find a way to log in every single day with him and get him doing STEAM. Because that's not my job, that's hers.
Yes, it is. Yeah, well, that's
the teacher
on the IP.
Yeah, exactly. And the teacher, like I emailed you today, she asked if she could be late to the IEP meeting. She's like, oh, it's because, it's the first, this is the kind of impression I've already gotten. Oh, it's the first week and, I don't want to leave the kiddos alone online. So can I just be like 20 minutes late to your kid's IEP? Because guess what? Your kid doesn't matter to me.
And you told her no, right?
I said, I'll get back to you. I'm going to check. I said, I need to check with my advocate.
No, I already said in my email, every IEP team participant must be there for the entire time.
Okay, so do you want me to send an email?
I will. I'll send an email.
Make it until 20 minutes later.
No, that's not acceptable. No, no. Do not, you guys, don't ever allow your teacher not to be at your IEP meeting. That's not acceptable. A teacher has to be there at your IEP meeting. They're your case carrier, for heaven's sakes. No, not acceptable at all.
And not acceptable when this is my first time even meeting her. And you're like, I get it, distance learning, but hey, show me that you care a little bit about my kid's education.
Well, then they
You
shouldn't.
don't even know my kid.
They shouldn't have scheduled it during her instruction time then. They should, or they need to figure out a way to have a sub come in during the IEP time or something. That's not your problem. That's the district's problem.
Okay.
That's an administrative issue that they have to figure out, not you. And you shouldn't have to, you know, jeopardize your IEP meeting without the teacher there because the district didn't do their job.
And I haven't heard back from this other guy from the SELPA either, just to let you know, not a word. So I don't know if he's interested in talking.
He contacted me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he wants to talk to me. We're gonna be reviewing the parent agenda, just going over the parent agenda.
Okay, Valerie, thank you for the update.
You're welcome. Kate, did you get on a better line?
Can you hear me now?
Hello? Did you get on? We can't hear you.
No, I don't think it's gonna work though. It's like our internet is getting out.
Yeah, it's not gonna work. It's super bad still. So maybe just email me or something.
I'd send you a chat.
Okay. Oh, a chat? Oh, okay. Let me see. Let me stop share. Okay. Let me see here. Why isn't my chat working? Oh, here it is. Oh. Does the teacher work directly with the student on IEP goals? Well, yes, it should be the teacher, but it can be the one-on-one. So if a child has a one-on-one, then the one-on-one always works directly with the student. But this is where it gets confusing, is that a one-on-one is not a teacher, okay? So a one-on-one's role is to follow the supervision. The teacher supervises the one-on-one, but the teacher teaches, and then the one-on-one supports what the teacher just taught. So the teacher should be saying, okay, I want you to work with Ryan and work on this goal for reading comprehension, have him read this story and work on this goal and then report back to me. But the teacher's always overseeing, doing the teaching, and the aide is just supporting the academic learning. Okay, so that's how it should be going. So it shouldn't be just a one-on-one working with a kid and the teacher doesn't even pay any attention. That's not the way it is. That's a one-on-one being the teacher, and that's not okay because aides aren't credentialed teachers.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Who else has a question? You can just unmute yourself and ask a question if you have one. Nobody else? Everybody's good? Okay, guys. Well, please, I'm always on my Facebook page, Advocates for Angels, but it's better if you guys want to really ask me a specific question, you should join the Special Education Parent Network, Special Education Parent Empowerment Network. And it's, if you join that, that's a private Facebook group. And that's where you can actually ask me questions and I'll answer questions in there for you and you can communicate with me. My Advocates for Angels page is more of a resource page. I post a lot of information on there. It's more of it for anybody, but the group is just for parents in which I can coach and guide and have more communication with you. Or you can join the Parent Brigade and then I'll be working with you all the time. So thanks guys. And I will see you on come Monday for my Facebook Live at 10 o'clock in the morning or next Wednesday for my town hall meeting. So,
Hi, Valerie.
Thank you.
What was the name of
Thank you,
that
Val.
group?
pardon?
What was it? Hi. What was the name of that group?
Oh, it's called the Special Education Parent Empowerment Network. It's a private group, Facebook group. So when you go on, it'll ask you questions. Are you a parent of a special needs child? And I think there's 3 questions. You answer those questions and then I accept you into the group.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you can't find it, if you go to my Advocates for Angels Facebook page, it'll be on there.
Okay.
Okay.
You. Mhm.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. Good night.
Good night.
See you soon.
Bye.
Thank you. Good night.